and welcome to the post-game show. We are just watching the players as they shake everyone's hands, and we see the Diamond Creek huddle. Now, the last wicket fell at 151, and so in the end, a declaration by Riverside allowed them enough time and enough runs to save this, to win this game. Now, this is a very interesting game because, well, on the one hand, when you consider the fact that obviously Diamond Creek 2 are at the bottom of the ladder, are not expected to win any games, and shouldn't even be in this league. They should be demoted to a lower league. Maybe that's what should have happened. But anyway, on the one hand, when you think there's such little expected of them, there's so much going against them. They're just this little novelty act at the bottom of the ladder because the real team, the real Diamond Creek, is elsewhere. And so when you think every time Diamond Creek 2 do something well, they obviously deserve a lot of praise for it because they are working against the tide. They're actually trying to do things that no one expects them to do. They're actually trying to force a conversation to happen which no one expected that they would be having. And so in that sense, you'd say, like, Diamond Creek 2, by competing, by actually challenging, by actually playing good cricket, are actually doing more than is expected of them. And so in that sense, they have done quite well over the course of the last few matches to save the outright game in the Diamond Creek Derby, to save the outright game last round against Lower Plenty, and now to compete with Riverside, who are going to be one of the top teams, to actually compete with Riverside and have to bring the game right to the final half an hour, does deserve a lot of praise. I mean, they have been able to compete muscle for muscle, ball for ball with Riverside for quite a lot of this game, and even when Riverside got on top of the game, Diamond Creek 2 were able to bounce back. And so it wasn't until the very end that finally the pressure came to bear and finally the wickets fell for Diamond Creek that they actually lost the game and Riverside won. So in that sense, there's a lot to be praiseworthy. Diamond Creek 2 are doing good work. You can see a lot of potential in their team. There's a lot of good stuff here. They've got a lot of good players. There's a lot of good mindsets, good attitudes. It's really good. But on the other hand, you would have to say that this has been a substandard performance for them today in terms of how they approached this batting innings. Because the rain had gotten rid of compulsory closure, it meant that the only way that Riverside could have won is through bowling out Diamond Creek. They could not just bowl out the remainder of the overs. And that means that Diamond Creek had an advantage, which is that they had the advantage of time on their hands, and they should have taken far greater advantage of it by slowing the game down and then by putting the clock, so the proverbial clock, pressure onto Riverside to actually make it much more difficult for Riverside to force victory by slowing down the ability for Riverside to get fast runs. Riverside got 50 runs this morning in about 10 overs, which is far more than they should have been allowed to. And then throughout the course of the Diamond Creek 2 innings, there was always the factor of being able to take enough wickets that they could actually win the game before the end of the day's play, and that pressure kept coming up again and again through the course of the Diamond Creek innings, because for most of it, Diamond Creek actually didn't lose enough wickets which meant that Riverside's wickets per balls required rate was always very high. It was always very low. And so they had a whole lot of work to do. And so the idea for Diamond Creek would have been to shut down their innings, to not give away any chances, and to bat out half an hour, which would have put so much pressure on Riverside. They would have forced to bring in the field, they would have forced to change their bowlers, they would have forced to do all sorts of things, and it would have all come to a bit of a problem. But instead, many of the wickets through the middle order of Diamond Creek were cheap wickets, where they scooped the ball in the air and they were caught in the covers, or they tried to play an aggressive expansion shot slog and they got top edged and it was caught on the leg side. The number of wickets that Diamond Creek lost through great bowling or through being outsmarted, actual wickets where the bowlers deserved it and they've earned it, is quite low. Most of the Diamond Creek wickets were thrown away. And so in that sense, you'd have to be very critical of Diamond Creek that they did not stand up to the challenge, they did not put up a good enough fight, and they weren't able to really stand up when the actual chance had been placed before them. This was a great opportunity to get some points on the board, get some momentum behind the team, show everyone what they are capable of and that they're not going to be pushed around. And what do? They keep playing these dumb shots, throwing away these wickets, and it mostly seemed to just fall through just impatience, where they would play a few good shots, a few drives on the ground, a few leaves, a few blocks, and then suddenly a wild shot and you would just scoop the ball in the air getting caught. It's just very, very disappointing. And this, like I said, this was their chance, and they have thrown away a great opportunity through just bad, immature and irresponsible batting. And quite frankly, this loss they deserved. They did not play well enough to save this game. They did not deserve the points for the draw, and a loss is an appropriate outcome considering how well they played, especially when it came to the bat. Now, with the ball, I think it's a very different thing. I actually think that Diamond Creek bowled really well. I think they put up a real good fight, both last week and today. The only bowler who really did a very bad job was Pierce, and it just seems like he had an off day. He just could not find his rhythm right. He kept getting balls in the wrong areas. So I'm not saying that Pierce was underperforming. He just seemed to have a very bad day. But in terms of the Diamond Creek bowling overall, I'd say they put up a great fight. They really challenged Riverside. They prevented Riverside from scoring easily, and they did a fabulous job. It's just disappointing that their batting weren't able to support them in the end, and it's very disappointing that because 200 could have been chased down, but it wasn't. And so a lot of compliments deserve to be given to the Diamond Creek bowlers. Very few deserve to be given to the Diamond Creek batters. What do we say about Riverside? Well, they now go 3-1. They are now right there up there at the top amongst the best teams in the F2 division. They will now be aiming for a finals position by Christmas time, and they'll be earmarking their place in the finals by Christmas time. As for Diamond Creek, they are 0-4, and you honestly can't see how they're going to win a single game this season, which is very sad to say. I'm not pleased about this situation, but that's what the situation is. All right, it's time to take a break here, And when we come back, we've got more of the wrap-up show.
Here at the start, where the words fall apart, where language is lost in the wind, the syllables sway in an ancient ballet, the meaningless sounds that we sing. Sleep, baby, sleep, baby, sleep till the feeling is gone. Sleep, baby, sleep, baby, everything's new in the dawn. The faces and sounds where the truth goes to drown in the deepest expanse of the sea. Our dreams and our hopes are concealed in codes, and no one would dare hold the key. Sleep, baby, sleep, baby, sleep till the feeling is gone. Sleep, baby, sleep, baby, everything's new in the dawn. Everything's new in the dawn.
So let's just review what happened today. So last week, Riverside won the toss and batted first, and there was a 100-run opening partnership. But so the score was 105 for no loss after 31 overs. And then disaster fell in consecutive overs, where the score went for 1 for 108, 2 for 112, and then about 5 overs later, 3 for 119. And so the score had basically been stationary for about 45 minutes, barely moving at all, and they'd lost 3 wickets. And so the first session was more or less a dominant display of batting by the two amazing openers for Riverside. Not only did they defend the ball well, they stole the quick singles, they bashed the fours when they had the opportunity. It was an amazing, terrific opening partnership for those two Riverside batsmen. They were definitely on top of their game there. Then the wickets fell and the run rate started to fall, and it started to feel like Diamond Creek 2 were getting on top of this game. We're actually going to put the squeeze on Riverside. So the run rate had fallen to just let's have a look. Yeah, so the run rate had fallen just to 3 runs per over, with 3 wickets down, 119 for 3. But then in the final half an hour, suddenly the run started to pick up again as Riverside started to bash a number of fours in the 45th, 44th, 46th, 47th, 48th overs, and suddenly the score raced up to 151, and that is when the rain came, the absolute torrential rain in the 50th over, which ended cricket's play for that day. And so there was no more cricket on day 1 because that rain ruined everything. Then we came to today. So 3 for 151. Now, after batting a couple of overs just to check, just to get their eyes in, then the batsmen started to play some shots, and a couple of wickets fell, so they ended up 5 wickets down, and they were hitting quite a number of runs. It involved lots of 2s and lots of 1s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 2s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 ones. Sorry, 9 ones. 9 ones. And then 2 4s, 2 6s. And that onslaught lasted till from, so it started off the innings in the 50th over and ended up after batting 58 overs. So from the 50th over to the 58th over, in the end getting 5 for 208 declared. The overs from today: the 50th over went for 2 runs, the 51st over went for 1 run. Then the 52nd over went for 6, the 53rd went for 5, the 54th went for 4, and here's where things picked up. The 55th went for 10, the 56th went for 4, the 57th went for 6, and then the 58th went for 19. So, a declaration, 5 for 208. In response, so, Diamond Creek started off really well. There was a 38-run opening partnership between Farah and Russell. And they were scoring at about 4 runs per over as they were batting. So not only did they have a good opening partnership, they weren't losing any wickets, but also they were scoring their runs quite quickly. But then the first wicket fell, and then about in 5 more overs, the second wicket fell. So it went from 1 for 38 to 2 for 52. And then a good partnership for the 3rd wicket, about 20 runs worth. So then the score rose to 2 for 71. And then disaster fell, where there were 4 maidens in a row, and 3 of them were wicket maidens. 3 for 71, 4 for 71, 5 for 71. All of a sudden, all of the good work that the opening batting, and in fact the first 3 partnerships had done really good work, and all of that came to an end with all that was wasted with those wickets falling. So it going to 5 for 71. But then thankfully another partnership came about, this one worth 29 runs, and so which included a couple of 4s, lots of singles, and in the end the 6th wicket fell in the 38th over for 100. Now at that stage, 6 for 100 after 38 overs. So 20 overs to go, 4 wickets in hand. You would need 5, if for Riverside, 5 overs per wicket. That is a difficult task. And surely Diamond Creek would have put back themselves to save this game. And then there was a terrific partnership of 40 runs. So the score was 140 for 6 in the 49th over. So 9 or so overs to go, 6 wickets in hand with about 60 runs to win. So you probably would have thought, okay, they can't win the game, but just the 4 wickets in hand with 9 overs. So the strike rate, the required strike rate, was about 12 balls. Riverside would have needed to take a wicket every 12 balls to win this game. And what we then saw was the Diamond Creek 2 tail fall apart. So, the 7th wicket fell, 140. The 8th wicket fell, 140. The 9th wicket fell, 145. And then the final wicket fell, 152. All out for 152. Such good work, such good partnerships through the middle of the Diamond Creek 2 innings were wasted because the tail threw their wickets away in the end and they were not able to save a game that any team should have backed themselves to save. It was a very, very disappointing final half an hour of this game as Diamond Creek basically just gave the game away. It's not like Riverside had the fielders all around the bat. The ball was moving a lot. There was lots of half chances and quarter chances and inside edges and outside edges and appeals. It was quite a very mild bowling display. There were no, other than a few random occasions, there was no great aggression in the field. Most of the fielders were just in regulation positions and the ball was not moving that much. By the standards of the Margaret Oval, this was not a dangerous or difficult fielding team to face. And yet, all the wickets fell, mostly through bad shots, which meant that Diamond Creek 2 ended up losing the game. So, that's the end of the wrap-up, and now you know, now you are completely up to date with everything that happened today in this game. This is round 4 of the F2 division in the 2017-18 season, and this was Diamond Creek 2 versus Riverside at the Margaret Oval in Diamond Creek. Thankfully, the rain did show up, but it didn't stay, and it blew over, and we were able to get a full day's cricket in. So the game was not drawn through rain, but we did see the result. So that's a very good outcome. Okay, all right, so it's time to take another break, and when we come back, we're gonna say goodbye. So this is Channel 8.
Beagle down the street, he's never on a leash. In every car that passes by, he chases like a freak. I was puzzled, so I asked him what he'd do one day if he caught himself a big old Chevrolet. And he said, ooh, 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 I don't have a clue, but how many of us ever really do? There is not a glowing sign that I am heading toward. I'm not aimless, I'm just not sure what I am aiming for. My stupid little cat thinks her tail is a rat. She chases it in circles till she sputters out of gas. I told her it's impossible to catch that tail, that no matter what she does, she'll always fail. And she said, ooh, 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 I don't have a clue. Maybe what you're telling me is true. But how am I supposed to know if I don't explore? I'm not aimless, I'm just not sure what I am aiming for. But me, I know my way. I wake up every day. I start to walk in from my path, I never really stray. I'll get to where I'm going when I figure out why the map is always changing when I start to find my route. And I go, ooh, 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 I don't have a clue, but how many of us us ever really do. There is not a glowing sign that I am heading toward. I'm not aimless, I'm just not sure what I am aiming for. What am I aiming for?
For those of you who want to stay updated with the Ashes, the final wicket of Australia did fall, and so England are starting their second innings. The two players are coming out to the middle, and David Warner has been trying to pump up the Australian players in the team huddle as they walk onto the field. So we'll just have to see what happens next week when we go to round 5. It's not yet known where Channel 8 are going to be next week. We'll just have to keep you updated. Now, Now, Channel 8 are working towards creating new social media new social media platforms. So, we are working towards creating a Channel 8 Facebook page. We are working towards creating a Channel 8 Twitter account. And we do have already a Channel 8 email address, although it's not easily available. So we are looking towards expanding Channel 8 and looking into other areas through the socials, and maybe some more areas towards filming projects and sort of work like that. But that will have to be that'll be just kept under the table for now, because we don't have anything solid yet. We're still working towards it, but just know that there is more Channel 8 to come, both for the rest of 2017 and then coming into the year of 2018. Okay, so it's time to say goodbye. So this has been the Mungrook Oval, hosting the round 4 clash between Diamond Creek 2 and Riverside, the F2 division in the 2017-18 season. This is Channel 8, the local sports network, in association with our partners Bizz 99.9 FM Substitute Radio. I am your host, lead commentator, and the managing producer of sports production with Channel 8 and Bizz 99.9 FM. Until next week, I'm Chukka Wilson, this is Channel 8, and goodbye.
The last slice of pecan pie is laid out before my eyes. In plastic it's wrapped, all the memories trapped on the shelf of the fridge where it lies. So lovingly it was made, but still it must decay, like the one from whose hand put the love in the pan. How quickly a moment will fade. So I'll pick up a fork in my hand, and I'll savor each bite till the end. And I'll say my goodbye to the last slice of pie that I won't ever taste again.